In our last episode, we opened and built this Iron Man Mark III head and foot, both of which light up. Now join us today as we open box 2 and build the joints hand and the Arc Reactor. So keep watching. This is your Geek Fix. So in shipment 1, we got everything from the head to the foot. So we're all well on our way at this point. I would also say that I'm at the end of week 2, and within this time of just getting the first video filmed and getting to this package right here, I have actually received multiple packages from Fanhome. I mean, multiple. That's between the R2-D2 and this. And so I know that I already have the parts actually to build everything from one of the arms to one of the legs, the Arc Reactor, the head. It's quite a ways along, so that's like 25% of the body. It feels like we're going pretty fast considering this is supposed to take about 2 years. But so far, so good. Everything I'm really impressed with. Love these metal parts. And so today, we're going to be opening up box 2. Now, I do have all my parts out from my last build. So I've held on to the batteries. I still have 2 more batteries. I still have some screws. And I'm holding on to those because some things we're going to need later on. This is not a full, complete set. Even though I've been able to build the entire head and the entire foot, some things that come with these parts are things we're going to do more with later. And so for that reason, I'd really hold on to things. Something else that I've noticed so far, now that I've opened both the R2-D2 and now the Iron Man Mark III, is that they both have things that I like about them. Naturally, with the Iron Man, I have been able to build entire portions by the end of each build. But the R2 is a little bit more complex. It's a lot of parts that go to one whole. On the flip side, something I like about the R2 that I haven't got to see so far in this build, which I'm still early in these packages, is that the R2 had magazines that mostly, rather than covering Star Wars and R2, it really covered a lot of the technology you're working with. So they had a whole section on LEDs, for example, and then you put together something with an LED. In fact, if I was a science teacher, I think it would make a perfect STEM learning type of project to do. Whereas with this one, it's been mostly talking about Iron Man itself or the Marvel Universe. So maybe later on, it's going to continue to get into more of the technology that we're actually using. So this is box 2, and I think still part of shipment 2. And as we open this off, the things that we have on the inside are, first off, the magazines, which in this case I got 4. Last time we had 2. And so each of these represent a stage of the build. So we have 3, 4, 5, and 6 that we're going to be putting together and that we're going to be reading. And then we have, I think, also a few different types of packages. So we have 2 cards, kind of like what we had last time, cards that have all the parts. Here we have all the parts for the hand, all the fingers and everything. And over here, we have all the parts for the Arc Reactor. And then we have separate packages in baggies that have parts for, I believe, the elbows. I think it's actually 2 sides to 1 elbow. I'm not sure, but still, that's what we're going to be putting together today. So, again, we have our screwdriver. This one is magnetized, so that's always great. I did find out that there's another screwdriver that is coming later on that is the same one that came with the R2-D2, the black one. So I guess you don't have to worry too much about having it the whole time. And this is a pretty standard screwdriver. You could replace it, but generally speaking, so far we've had everything in these packages that we needed, unlike the R2-D2 where you had to have some glue on the side as well. So we're going to go ahead and open volume 3 now. This one we have Tony Stark, Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. And we'll be building the Mark III armor. That hand, it looks like the left hand? Yeah, that looks about right. No, the right hand. It's the right hand. Okay. Just as before, we've got all the contact information over here. And getting into it, we have the first challenges and first armors. This volume gets into some of the original armor, as well as the original versions of the magazine. Talks about his early alliances and about initially trying to keep it a secret and eventually disclosing who he was. Gets into a little bit of the early Stark technology, and then we are into our build already. And actually on this one, if you watched the last build, you saw that it didn't have very many pages. Usually it was just a couple. This one we have 4 pages related to the build, and we're starting off with the hand. So I'm going to grab my hand card here, and we'll go ahead and open that up. Again, I wanted to keep that whole card because I'll probably be using it later on for storage. And just like last time, I can actually flip that over first and pop off the top so I can keep it organized. And now just to give you some perspective on this, here I have the hand in my hand, and it is huge. The area for the repulsor is so big that it looks like it is the same size as the Arc Reactor on my 1/6 scale figures. That's pretty huge. I mean, compared to my hand, it's about a fifth of my hand. It's a 1/3 model, but still, compared to my hand, it's pretty big. So I will also notice that the part that they have for this one that's going to be magnetized, in this case, is actually metal. On the foot, we had a plastic piece which was painted perfectly and is nice and light. But in this case, they went for the metal one, which would be slightly heavier. So that's pretty great too. So this whole thing looks like it's pretty much metal. But when I look at the fingers, no, they are plastic. And part of the reason for that has to do with these joints. So this is a fully articulating hand to the level that every single finger joint has its own part. So we'll go ahead and get this organized. Now I've also got my screws here that I've got to keep track of. For our very first part, we're going to be starting off with the thumb. And so when I pull over my card over here, I think that the pieces are organized in relation to each finger. So the way that this is laid out is basically you have, it goes in numbers from 1 to 5. So, and this is all right hand, so that makes it R. So the top row is 1R, then 2R, 3R, 4R, and then you have 5R. So starting off, I've got only these 2 pieces right here, and so what it says to do is I've got to take those pieces and I'm going to stick this one right here and slide it into this one right here, and they're pretty straightforward on what they look like. So this part goes into here like this, and then I want to get my let's see, your CP screws. So I've got MA, more MAs. So far I haven't had to reuse any of my previous ones. There's an EP screw. Here is an FP screw. There's a lot of different types of screws for this one. Here's a DP. Here's a BP. And finally, this is my CP, was at the very bottom. So, put my screws right there. And then, I'm going to take one of those screws now, and I'm going to put it right into that joint, like so, and then tighten it down. Come on, baby. I want to be really careful. As you can see, I just scratched that, the problem with it being plastic. And at the same time, war damage, I guess. I'll do that nice and tight, because I think that does affect how much it bends. Wow, look at that. That's pretty neat. Okay. Okay, so that's my thumb right there. We are done with the thumb. Now, I'm going to take, we're going to work on, it looks like finger 3. I don't know why we're jumping fingers so much, but so, make sure that my numbers are correct. 3R, alright. So we're going to do the same thing as we just did, also using the last, I think, or close to the last of our CP screws. So the thing about this kit coming with so many different size screws and types is the fact that every single one of these fingers and every single joint has a different width or a different length of screw, and so that means that I have to keep track of all these screws and that as we're putting them in, I want to be careful that I'm putting in the right size screws. I want to be careful that I don't let the screwdriver slip or scratch anything, so I'm trying to make sure that as I'm pressing and pressing hard, I'm getting all the way through to the other side of each of those joints to the point that it's going to actually hold it on. So even though I'm playing this in fast motion, there's nothing wrong with taking your time on getting this done. Going back and I'm tightening up the ends of the fingers to be able to make sure they're tight enough that I can really adjust them exactly where I want them. So we've got all the fingers done. I'm going to move on to the actual hand itself. I'm going to take this piece right here, and I'm going to be getting my window out from over here and putting it down just like this. You can at least see what parts I have to hook it onto, just like that. And we'll be using a BM screw. Alright, BM screw right there. And we'll be putting that into 2 of the holes. The third hole is just to hold it on or hold it in place right there. So we only need 2 screws. Screw that in tight. And then we take the other screw. Okay, there we go. And now we're going to be taking our switch over here, and we're going to be placing that inside the top section here, right here. So we're going to take the LED switch and push it into the side of the assembly case, like so. So we're going to stand this part up. They sure do have a lot of faith in their customers to be able to do this right. Let's see if I do it right. So I'm pushing it in like this. Oh, there we go. Like that. And then we're wrapping that back around here. Okay, very good. And then it looks like that we're gonna push that in. This time at least they tell me what to do also with this little tiny chip. Let's see here. It will only fit in one position and is fixed with 2 BP screws. So here we go. So this hole is where that button goes. Okay. So then once we've got that through, we're going to take this board, wrapping it around, and then I need to attach it with some BP screws. With that, I'm going to hold on these fingers apparently. So this is how they're supposed to be laid out. 1, right, this is 2, which makes this 3, 4, 5. Oh, okay. And then, oh, there's a peg. The benefit of using plastic for these parts is that they can expand and contract, and that they won't cause us as much problem if they were metal. Oh, wow, I just heard something snap. I don't know if that was good. So, okay. Then next, we're to the battery phase. Awesome, awesome. Now, if I hadn't held on to my parts from last time, we'd be in some real trouble because they didn't send us any batteries this time. And that battery's right here. But here's one right here. So we're sticking that in right like that. And then I've got a cover here. The cover's going to go on just like this. This is a magnet right here that's going to be holding our plate on afterwards, which when we push it right here, we can see is now lit up. Let's see if you can hold my screwdriver. See here. Like that. And look at that. You can hold the screwdriver just fine. I don't think I've ever had a model that had that great of articulating fingers and that were that strong. It holds a position really well, and when you tighten the fingers just right, you can move them in small increments, so that's pretty good. The thing that I like about this that is different than many of my other figures, outside the fact that all the joints are able to be articulated and can move and close so well, is the fact that you have an actual repulsor in there with the switch on the outside, so it's all contained in one hand. Typically most models what they have is there's a light inside the wrist, and so when you put on the hand, it's just shining into the hand. That's true for my Hot Toy figures as well as some of my other figures over here. So, and the fact that they also hid the button, so there's not a switch that's underneath the wrist or something that sticks out. This one's hidden really nicely on that hand and underneath this metal piece. I don't know why they chose a metal piece there, but so far it's looking good. I'm going to put that hand over here. Wrapping up the magazine now, we're going into the Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. after the victory, where we're getting into the 50-state initiative about organizing the teams and everything that happened thereafter, including some characters and some things that, such as the S.H.I.E.L.D. Alpha team or the World of War Hulk. And then for some reason taking the Model 1 and making it gold. It even explains some of the rationale behind that and the benefits. On the back we have this comic book that it was based off of, which in this case is the Tales of Suspense, the Mandarin, which is very different than what we saw in the movie. And the next issue, which is to build the Arc Reactor, which brings us to Volume 4. This one covers the Illuminati conspiracy. And then we have the Build the Mark III armor, the Spy Master and his minions, the Titanium Man, the Return of the Mandarin, which wouldn't happen in the actual Iron Man movies. And then we're into the Mark III armor Arc Reactor, which is this card right here. This has all the different parts on it. Once again, like I said, the hand's repulsor is about the size of most of my figures, Iron Man figures. So this is huge in comparison. And again, looking at my 1/4 scale, this looks quite a bit larger. And I did see some other people write that this is a 1/3 scale model, which I would be more likely to believe. But very nice. I can see all the parts in there, and we do have more screws, so I'm not going to worry about what we have so far. So we'll go ahead and move the back to that one. And again, flip it over here, keep my parts all organized. And there's a little stuff on the inside. Looks like the first thing I'm going to be doing is taking this out. Wow, that is metal. I was not expecting that when I picked it up. It is full-on metal piece. I really thought these were going to be plastic. That one's plastic, but this is definitely a metal piece. So very cool. I'll be taking this piece right here and this other piece right here. And it looks like I'm going to be sticking this one into here. Okay, and they're supposed to slot together like so. Then I'm going to be taking this other piece right here. And so it goes onto the large posts, like that. Yeah, like that. Okay. So now what I need are the AM screws. This one only has a couple different types of screws, so that's good. Just like that. Now I'm going to get this other piece right here. I'm also going to get, whoops, the cover right here. And I'm going to get this piece right here. And I'm going to get my clear screen right here and put it right there. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this right here and I'm going to stick it through this little hole that's right here. Just like so. And tuck this stuff down into here. And stick this down into here, like so. And then I'm going to take this part right here, put it right on top of there, and then I'm going to take those parts and put them so that the posts match up, and just like that. And then I just put that right down into there, screw it on, and of course these are screwing into that metal piece, so I'm gonna feel free and tighten it as much as I can. Just so you know that those are on nice and tight. And then we're going to take our next battery, put that in there like that, and I'm just going to hook this right on top of it, I guess. And just like that, using this time a BP screw. Strange that they didn't have a... Oh, it's on. Look at that. That's pretty nice. That looks pretty good. I like that. Anyway, turn it off, turn it on. Very good. Okay, now I've got my hand, my head, the foot. I mean, we're moving along at a pretty fast pace. What next, you might ask? Well, that's coming up pretty soon. The rest of the magazine covers Illuminati conspiracy for good. And this is where we started getting into things like Doctor Strange, and look at that. The professors, even in this one, Xavier. We have Fantastic Fours involved. It's a lot of that New Worlds and combining universes and things that we're actually starting to see in the MCU right now happen. Then they get into Model 2, Red and Gold Iron Man, which you might remember was more of a chrome color in Iron Man. And then on the back we're shown Iron Man Volume 1 is where this comes from. And the next issue, which is building Iron Man's right elbow joint and discovering Iron Man and Captain America's relationship in the Avengers. So that is going to be Volume 5, which is right here. And in this one we're building the elbow, which I think this is the first part that we're not going to be building the entire thing. We're not going to be able to see something complete, and I'm going to have to hold on to this really carefully for when we do more. So, inside the magazine, we get into the secret identity of Iron Man versus Tony Stark. In the comic book, he had a lot of dreams about himself battling with Iron Man armor, even without him inside of it. And now we're to the part where we're going to start building the elbow. This also shows us a little bit of where these parts will end up going later on once we have more of our pieces, which is actually going to be pretty fast. So, I almost wonder kind of why we're doing this if I can't really do much with it. I mean, I don't think I get to screw it together. So, I don't know. But I'm definitely going to hold on to the package for this one. There we go. Okay, so we got very simple parts this time. So we have 2 washers. We got a couple of metal pieces that are internal metal pieces with an external plastic piece. That's really interesting. Okay, and so this time all that we're doing is I'm just going to be taking this piece right here, and I'm going to stick these washers onto these parts right here. Then I'm going to flip these over here. I'm going to take this one and stick it like so, and I'm going to take this one and stick it, whoops, like so. And so we get to see the locking pieces that keep it from bending too far. So there you go. And that is all the more that we are doing. The rest of the magazine continues on with the Avengers, with his friendship, with the Captain America, Steve Rogers. Gets a little bit more into the Civil War stuff. And then starts talking about Model 3, which is what we're building. An armor for the whole generation. And so talks a lot about the armor. Now, of course, this armor in the magazine, in the comic book, which was Iron Man Volume 1, number 19, is mostly almost a material that he puts on for the most part, with pieces that are all armor. So in the next issue, we construct the right elbow joint. Here we are in Volume 6. So in this one, we start getting into the Kree and Skrull War. We're building another joint. This starts off by talking about the Kree and Skrull War, and gets into, I think for the first time, introducing other characters like Vision and Thor. And then we get to finally finish off after this long wait. We get to finish off that elbow piece that we were working on just a few minutes ago. So now I'm going to bring that elbow back over here. We're supposed to set it just like this. And then I'm going to be taking this piece right here, and I'm going to get my washers out and this little plastic piece right here. And first I'm going to put my washers onto these posts just like I did to the other side of the elbow. And then up here I've got a little area that this thing has to stick out of. Just kind of push it in there just like that. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to flip it over onto here without having those washers fall off. Maybe. There we go. And then we just push it together, it says. And it sounds like everything stayed in place. And now we're going to take GP screws. Once again, they give us exactly one extra screw, so that's good. Tighten them really well. All right. And by tightening it that nicely, I again get a better posable piece. So see how I can move these exactly where I want them versus them just kind of move sliding around too much. So there we go. That is an elbow, and I think this piece right here is something that's going to stick on right there. So at any rate, once again, we'll add that to some of our other parts. Finishing off our magazine, we have red and green, Iron Man versus the Hulk, and that's always the way it is, isn't it? We haven't talked at all about the Hulk Buster, but here we have their many fights with each other. He's even wearing the Ragnarok outfit in this one right here. And now we're talking about the Model 4. I guess they're going to cover every Iron Man model, and of course this is looking like the scene that we saw of the 3 when it got attacked. Our reference is Avengers Volume 1, number 92, and the next issue we're going to be building the right forearm, the enemy inside the demon in the bottle. So I mean, here's everything that we built so far. Seems like we're moving pretty fast, and I know that we're going to be going all the way to Volume 10 in the next package, and there's a special surprise that I was not expecting. I'm very excited about, so please stay tuned. Want to thank Fanhome for providing us with this model to be able to review, but they also gave us a promo code, so if you're interested in purchasing this, use the code Tony Stark. Also, I'll continue to review these as they come out, so if you can't get it, you can also experience this by proxy. Remember to like, subscribe, comment below, keep watching. This is your Geek Fix.